This episode of the All Automotive Podcast is brought to you by our friends at GeForce Automotive. GeForce Automotive is a certified service center through Auto Value. Want to make an appointment? Go to their website at www.geforceautomotive.net. Click on the banner that says Make an Appointment and make your appointment today. And now, the next episode of the All Automotive Podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode of the All Automotive Podcast. And I'm your host, Matt Clausen, and today's episode, we're talking about online car buying. You know, Carvana and Vroom and the online car buying sites. You know, I got lots of questions, and I got lots of opinions. So, in the next half hour, we're going to be talking about this stuff. And I want to know, did you feel like you were in control of the buying process if you've used this? I'm on the service end side of it. So, recently we've had a number of these cars come in from a specific car one. And we'll pick on this one in particular. I guess I can. We'll pick on Carvana because Carvana is one of the ones that is an online site. And you can buy this car from there and so you can go online and punch in, let's say you're looking for a 2014 Chevy Camaro, and you hit that in there, boom, it comes up. So it's not in one of their vending machines where you go and pick it up, but they deliver it to you, and they've had lots of issues in a couple of different states too about, getting stuff to you. And and they're still blaming it on, the COVID-19 and, because of that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really so sure that kind of is an excuse that's acceptable anymore. I mean, yeah, a couple of years ago, when it was at the height, it made sense to, do that and say that. But, if I'm going to buy a car online, and I don't think I would. Let me just start there. And and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying something online. Buy stuff all the time online. But when it comes to a major purchase in your life, and a vehicle purchase is one of the biggest purchases you're going to do in your life, besides your home or your apartment or your condo, or whatever, wherever you live, so this is an important deal. You can't just get online and look at pictures of the car. Now, most of these companies are transparent about, them having dents and dings and issues with interior trim parts or whatever. But these cars are supposedly inspected and then put on, quote unquote, their lot, wherever that is, and if it varies between states, I've seen one of these vending machines that are on our way to, Indiana to Sweetwater, as a matter of fact, to go look at a guitar. And that's a conversation for a different day. But anyway, we were on our way to Fort Wayne, and, we did see one of these. So they're out there, the car vending machines where you actually would, this car's in here and you've done all your paperwork and go get it. I don't know what that experience is like because I don't think I really would do that. Because I want to be in control of the car buying process. And if I'm not sure that this car meets my standards, then I don't think I'm going to move forward with getting it. And again, I'll back up a little bit again. Most of the companies are very transparent about damages and so forth to the car. But when there's a dent or a scuff or a ding in the car and they show you and they point it out, I was looking on Carvana the other day and I happened to be looking at a Camaro and I was just doing some searching and so forth. It doesn't matter. But this particular vehicle did have a damage on the front bumper, but they took some pictures of it, one, and pointed it out on the others, the 361 where it rolls it around. It's got a big hello. There's a scuff in the front bumper. Okay. I don't care what camera you use, but it's hard to see the extent of the damage on that car and what it potentially could cost you to get it repaired so that it's to your standards, without seeing the car in person. And you don't get that opportunity until you get the car. And yeah, you've got your window where you can return it, but they don't like to do that. No car dealer wants you to see you drive back in the lot, throw your hands up and throw the keys on the counter and say, Matt, you know what? We don't want this car. It doesn't work that way. And especially when you're talking about loans and all this stuff, you got to unwind all this paperwork. And a lot of times that's not something they really want to do. Has it been done where you don't like the vehicle and return it? Most likely. But I'm pretty sure that if you ask those people and you call those people, that process was the biggest pain in their butt that it ever could have been. But, that being said, these online car buying sites, and I don't want to just be negative about it. Maybe it is something that's up your alley and that's what you want to do. And you loathe going into the car dealership, and it's something where you hate the car buying process because of how they go back and forth with the price. But if you educate yourself and have your game, there's so much more information that you can get today about a car that you're going to buy. So if you go back to one of my earlier episodes, I believe it's my January episode on what to look for when purchasing a used car, I talk about these things that you can do, that you should do when you're buying a used car. And these online buying sites and the process of buying a car online, you get to see pictures of the car, which gives you absolutely no idea what's going on if it in fact has an issue. You can't tell if it's been painted, if it's been into an accident, and they can give you a Carfax report or a auto check vehicle history report, whichever one you want to use. They can give that to you, but if that vehicle was damaged somewhere where that claim wasn't put through on the insurance company, you're not going to know whether or not the door was changed on the front of the car or if the trunk lid was switched out because it got rear-ended. You don't know any of this stuff. And you can't tell by looking at it. And in that episode, I talked about, looking underneath the car and looking at the difference in the paint and so forth, and looking at the interior. And, again, it's one of the biggest purchases of your life that you make, and there's just so many things out there, and in preparation of this episode, I did take some time and I did do some research here and there about, these online car buying sites and which ones are better than others and how that could help you or not help you. I've asked friends in the last couple of weeks and also customers, is that something you think you would do? I was having a conversation with my Aflac rep today, and, she was asking me how my podcast was going. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. We're coming up on a year, and that's, something we're going to celebrate too. And, I was telling her what this episode was going to be about. I said, it's an online car buying process. And we got to chit-chatting about that. And she was just like, yeah, I don't think I would do that. I just don't think I would ever buy a car like that online. She goes, I buy stuff online, like shampoo and groceries and stuff maybe, but I don't know if I could buy a car online because, and one of her things is she's like, I'm in my car quite a bit. And I don't think that I could go forward with that. And knowing that there's so many things that I couldn't look at or be in control of, and one of the things, if you go to the dealership, one of the things you're in control of is how much research that you've done, how much research you've done on this car and you've done research on yourself. You want to maybe get yourself your credit history. We all have the ability to print out our credit reports for free once or twice a year, I believe. I'd have to check with my brother on that one, but I know you can at least do it once. So if this is something that you haven't done yet, you can go on there and print it out. You have it in your hand. They don't have to do it. You don't have to give them your social security number. You don't have to let them hurt or damage your credit potentially by running a hard credit report, which means they get all the information, all the gory details on if you've paid your bills on time, late, how many credit cards you got, what your mortgage is, how much you owe, blah, 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 down to the last payment you made to the credit card that you have in your wallet. So that's one of the things you can be prepared with is your credit report. Have it there or know what it is and know that, you have that ability to do that. And then go in there with the pre-approval from the bank that you deal with. If you want to deal with the dealership and deal with the banks that they deal with, by all means, give them a social security number and let them do it. Most of us know somebody or have a friend or can find out somebody that's in the car business that sells cars or works at a dealership that, their purpose in life obviously is to sell cars and make a living. And, we can all be educated on how the car buying process goes so that you can go into that process confident and come out with the solution or the car you want at the rate that you want, at the price you wanted to pay, and you didn't pay for the extra tire protection or you purchased that because you got a flat. I mean, there's so many different things that, the dealerships are doing nowadays. When we went to buy my wife's Traverse, the dealership offered us a tire protection program to where we purchased this for, I don't know, let's say $500. We purchased this on top of the car payment. They added it to the car payment. So it makes the car payment, $5 more or $10 more. So they're justifying it that way, right? But it's still $500 and it got put on top of your loan and it made it more expensive, right? But if you've ever blown a tire out and you didn't have any insurance on or any road hazard on your tires, guess what? How much are tires nowadays on a Chevy Traverse? About $200 a wheel. How many tires did we blow out? Just one, $200. Okay, we're still maybe $300 to the good. But so there's all kinds of different things, including the extended service contracts. And again, that was my first episode was, vehicle extended service warranties or extended service contracts, and what they're all about and my opinions on those and my advice to you on those as well. So if it makes sense for you to do, then, I would recommend doing it. If it's something that's you don't know what the repair cost is going to be on this used car, you can guess maybe. And if you've got the wherewithal to repair it without that, if you got credit cards that have $5,000-$10,000 limits on them or whatever, because transmissions and engines and replacements are not inexpensive, folks. So it's something that you want to think about too. So getting back to the online car buying process is, what are the steps that they take to get you all this paperwork? You know how much paperwork you sign? You sign to authorize this. You sign that the figures that they got you were okay. You sign this document certifying that the mileage on the vehicle is what it is, and you saw it because you test drove it. And, there's all kinds of these different paperworks that you got to sign in different states. It's different, but you got to sign to get the title and you got to sign to get the licensing. And then you have to show them proof of insurance and they have to sign that you've proven that you've got insurance on this car. Cause in our state, you can't drive off the lot without having it insured if you've got a loan on it. Cause that bank's going to say, whoa, no way. That's not happening. And another thing is like gap insurance. That's something else that you want to think about, because 6 months down the road, unfortunately, you get into an accident with this car The insurance company comes out, they total your vehicle. Okay, they total your vehicle for less than what you owe on it, so the gap insurance makes up that gap. Essentially is what that does. On these online car buying sites, how are we doing all this stuff? We're doing it all online, and you're putting all your information out there on the internet webs. That's something that still, it concerns me. It concerns me putting that stuff out there. If you talk to some people that have had their identity taken, it's not a fun process either. And I'm not saying that your identity is going to get stolen. Don't get me wrong, but that information is to them through the internet, through your connection. So it's a concern. So, and I'm sure it's encrypted and all that stuff, and it's safe. But and again, I don't want to be negative, but it's hard not to be with all the things that I've seen with these online car buying sites. I sat and watched Monday Night Football, and it was just like constantly, this one, or it was Sunday Night Football, or one of the two. I was watching football. Anyway, it was this online car buying site bought so much advertising. Bam, bam. It's like, wow. I don't know, man. I'm concerned about this company because they're advertising quite a bit. And, again, educate yourself on which car buying site you're using. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about too. So again, educate yourself, folks, on what you're going to get and what the process is before you move forward with it, just to protect yourself, because you don't want to get this loan or get approved for a loan through your bank. And then, who are they writing the check to, and how easy is that process going to be? Yeah, it's easy when you can go to your branch. You talk to people that and you deal with on a daily basis. Maybe you go to the bank a lot, maybe you don't. I happen to go to the bank, and those people kind of know me somewhat. If you're in a smaller type town, or if you're in a big metropolitan area, you're a customer of that bank. And so if you go in there and get your pre-approval for, I want to go buy a car, and I want to know what your rate is, your interest rate is, so that I can be prepared when I go to the lot. And this is some things that maybe will upset the dealer that you go to in person. Sure, because they want to do all this stuff for you. It's a no stop shopping. You don't have to do anything. You just go in, you say, "Yep, I want that car right there. How much is it going to cost me, and how much are you going to give me for my car?" And the process begins. So, it's, if you're educating yourself and getting your credit report and doing some of the things and researching your car buying and what the car value is, especially if you're doing a used car, the values can vary thousands of dollars. So you want to make sure that you're up to speed with what before you go in there. And again, like I was saying, they don't really want you to come in with this information and be prepared like that. They want you to be the one that, but you're not that kind of person. And I don't want you to be that kind of person. I want you to be prepared and have all your tools and have all the cards and have the right combination of cards when you go in there, so that you can play them at different sections of the car buying process. Because when we were buying when we had to, unfortunately, my wife was in a pretty bad accident with her 2018 Traverse, and it was totaled. It was bad. So we had to get another vehicle, and it was on lease. So we, got with the insurance company, and the insurance company, paid it off. And, there was some extra there because of the value of the vehicle and so forth. So we were ahead of the game, I guess, if you will. We were above, we didn't have gap insurance because we've never done it that way. So, again, we were ahead of the game. So we had money to put back down on another vehicle. And, the leasing company was very cordial with getting us through that process. So, when we were at the dealership, it's just like, okay, we settled on the car. We talked to Lenny, our sales guy, and he, got us the one that she wanted with all the options that she wanted. And there was some things that she wanted on it that I didn't think she wanted, but we got the cloth seats with the heated, doesn't like leather. And so, and the specific color that she wanted. So again, we figured out what she wanted and got it. And then it was like, okay, so it's either this one or this one, because they had 3 or 4 or that color. And so we decided on the one that she wanted. And then, of course you're all set. So we got to go put you to the finance person, and it's a different person. You've already been dealing with Lenny. Well, Lenny was nice enough to sit in on this conversation and maybe explain some of the things that we didn't know and weren't understanding of. And he was I felt like he was kind of an advocate for us too, a little bit, because he was just like, oh yeah, so if you, and they offered us damage insurance, like lease insurance, like we're leasing the car, and if you get a shopping cart ding in the side of the door and it's so big, they're going to charge you to fix it unless you take it to the body shop and have them fix it yourself, or a paintless dent guy. So that was one of the things they tried to get us on, and and maybe get us on, or is not the right terminology. They tried to offer it to us, and we didn't feel it was of a value for us. Because I'm in the business and I know people in the body shop business, and, it's something that we can get taken care of ourselves. And again, just like the extended service contract, well, it's under warranty. We really don't need that because it's only going to be 36,000 mile lease. So we don't, once 36,000 miles hits, it's, you can have it back, and then it becomes a vehicle that comes onto Carvana. So, or, they sell it. They take it and buy it back and sell it. They buy it from the leasing company, and then they resell it to one of their used cars customers. So, and then the tire thing was another thing they offered us. And again, me being in a business and having an auto shop, and we do tires. So that's not something that really was interested in me either. So, and I think that was about it, but there's a couple other ones that I've heard of that are offering some pretty interesting things, like, windshield, insurance, or, they offer you a paint protection or a rust proofing package. So there's all kinds of different stuff that they can offer you. It's just think in your head, is it something that I want to deal with? And and no decision has to be made that day. Trust me. If you've decided on the car and you're going to the finance department and you start discussing stuff, all of a sudden, all this stuff gets funneled down. And then it's just like, okay, here's what you're going to owe for a month. Okay, that's not for me. Okay, why is it so much? Because before, when we were talking to Lenny, it's because we have this protection, and the tire protection. Okay, well, we're not interested in any of that stuff, but thank you. And then she was nice enough and went through each one of them before. And then, we at the end, we were just like, yeah, we just need the car because we're without one. It's totaled, and, we're here. So we ended up driving it home with just, the straightforward lease package, and we negotiated a pretty good deal, which I thought was fair for everyone involved, including the salesperson. So, those guys have to make a living too. So don't go in there hell bent for leather as far as, I've got to have this for this price or I'm walking out the door. And don't be afraid to walk out the door though. And if you think it's a reasonable offer, then, by all means go forward. But sometimes you're going to get asked to leave too. So, and I've seen that happen, so let's go back to some of these car buying sites. And I happened to, like I was saying before, I went on to consumeraffairs.com, and it's telling me that the best one, according to this Consumer Affairs website, is Drive Time. Drive Time has a 4.5 user rating, a 4.5 star rating on their reviews. It's located in Phoenix, Arizona, and there are 143 dealerships nationwide. They got 500,000 vehicles. And, I've never seen one in the Midwest. I don't know if they have one in the Midwest or not, but drive time seems to be a pretty good one as far as the customers. And there's like 8,000 reviews. And you come down to, so I scroll down, and this is not in any specific order. So Carvana comes in with a 2.8 star review. 2.8. And they do a lot of advertising, folks. I mean, you're telling me you haven't seen a Carvana commercial on TV, and that's one of the ones I was seeing on the football. Okay, and that's the one. Do your research, and if you think it's something you really want to do, then do your research on which site you're buying it from. Now, Carvana's got 360-degree photos. They're pretty transparent on which dings and so forth are on the vehicle. They take a picture of them and they point them out as little triangles when you're looking at the car as you're doing that 360. And you can stop and click on that little triangle, and it pulls up an actual picture of the scratch, scuff, ding. And normally they're just like paint chips and stuff. But again, it's something that, I don't care really what kind of camera you got, but I really kind of need to see that in order for me to say, well, this has got too many little dings and stuff in it. Because a lot of the times, Carvana and stuff and these online car sites are buying these retired rental cars. They were rental cars, and I don't know about you, but the rental car we had in Texas was a Toyota Camry, and it wasn't the greatest, folks. It had a nail in the tire. It had to keep blowing the tire up. Something else was going on with it. It wasn't the best one. And unfortunately, that was the one that, Avis stuck us with. But anyway, so Carvana is one of the ones that's getting these rental cars too. And they're doing everything they can to try and find and buy and get cars, just like any other dealership would be. So when you go on there and look, they're up there with as many cars as the next guy. And I've seen in a couple of states, and including Michigan, my state, I've talked to a few customers that have had some difficulty getting their paperwork finished and getting paperwork to them. And, you got to watch that stuff, folks. If you're driving, and a few of these reviews that I saw on here for Carvana was not getting their paperwork, not getting a license plate, all stuff that, you can go down to the dealership you bought it at and say, hey, dude, where's my license plate? I can't drive on this temporary tag for only 30 days. And they only give you so many of those. So, and it's a risk for you too, because, you could end up getting pulled over, and, that's a conversation that, depending on the officer, you want know if you really want to have that conversation. So again, I know in Illinois and in Michigan and another state, I believe Carvana is in a little bit of hot water as far as what their paperwork, filling their paperwork out and getting their paperwork to their customers in a timely manner. And then we scroll down to CarMax. CarMax, there's some brick and mortar of these, but they do online as well. And they've got a 3.5 star rating. And they've got 125 point inspection they do on their vehicles, which they gladly show you. And they offer a no haggle, no pressure. And they offer, as well as a lot of these other ones, is a 7-day trial period with the option to return it with a full refund. How easy that situation would be. So it covers major systems for 90 days or 4,000 miles. And they also have a no-fee home delivery. So a couple of these reviews I saw on this particular site's website was, some frustrations over getting their vehicle and being home and not being there and trying to meet the guy. And there was a couple of those. So again, hey, if you're at the dealership, the car's there, you're looking at it, you either drive it home or you come back the next day, or you negotiate what you negotiate. So moving on down the line, we've got Vroom, VROOM, and they have a 3.25 star rating. and they have quite a few reviews too. And they offer home delivery as well, and they offer roadside assistance, which that's nice. Something I don't see these other ones doing. And they ship their vehicles within 10 to 14 days. So that's hard for me, especially with the amount of money that you spent. You spent the money. I'm pretty much going to want my stuff here pretty quickly. That to me, that's one thing I wouldn't use Vroom because of that, because I'd want my car before 10 days. I'd want it in 3 to 5 days or something like that. That would be acceptable. So scrolling down even further, we got cars.com. They have a 4-star rating, so we're getting better. And these guys are all online. They got a mobile app, which a lot of them other ones don't, which is kind of cool because you can go on there and look for, we're all on our phones so much. So it's just like you can go in there and you can look at what you got, look at what they got, and they can find it or whatever. And they can tell you based on your location, you can have this car tomorrow, or you can have it Friday, or you can have it in 2 months, or we'll let you know when we get one. So it just depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking for a Chevy SS or something like that, or something needle in the haystack, you're going to be a little hard pressed to get something really right away. Anyway, so they got a pretty good rating. Cars.com is a 4-star rating. And I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. The next one down the line here is Enterprise Car Sales. So like your Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they sell their own cars. They say, you know what? We're not going to take them to the auction. We're just going to sell them ourselves. And they've got a pretty good rating. They got 4-star rating. So they offer financing through Chase Bank. Pretty cool. Okay, so Enterprise does car sales in all but 12 states. So in Alaska, Arkansas, Hawaii, Idaho, Maine, Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming, do they not offer car sales in those states? So every other state, you can. So I clicked on their website, and it's pretty decent. So you scroll down, put in what kind of car you're looking for, and you can keep narrowing it down. So the closest location for me is in the Detroit area or Farmington Hills. And they've got a couple of different locations in Michigan. And what I'm finding is if it's close to you and there's no transfer fee, like if it's in the state of Michigan, it appears as though there's no transfer fee. So you got to watch some of the stuff too, folks. If it's something that you really are dead set on is buying a car online and you're getting one of these sites, it is very important to look at where it is. And I'm scrolling down through the cars that are pulling up here, and, there's a lot of stuff that's in Michigan. But once I started dialing it down to a Chevy Silverado, let's say, it was telling me it was $600 to deliver it from the Chicago area. So that's something you want to think about. They don't deliver you this car for free. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Enterprise Rent-A-Car has Enterprise Car Sales, and they operate in all but 12 states. They do have a very good rating, 4-star rating, 4 out of 5. And hey, it's another avenue. And then I was on my cell phone, and I decided to look up on the App Store. I have an Apple iPhone, so if you go to the App Store and you type in Carvana. Okay, so the first one that comes up is, and we've talked about every single one of these, is Cars.com, and then Carvana, and then CarMax, Car Gurus, Vroom is on there, and then and that's about it. Well, no, Drive Time's on there, and also Auto Trader. Well, Auto Trader to me is, let's talk about Auto Trader for a second. And Auto Trader to me is basically like you selling your car to the public. That's what that site is to me. However, these car dealerships get on there and advertise their car. You still have to go there and get it. I don't believe that there's a way to look up or purchase the vehicle through Auto Trader. You're not purchasing it through Auto Trader. Auto Trader is just like a an avenue for you to see what kind of car, or to look for a car. So as we're going down through, and so I just wanted to share that with everybody is all the apps that are available. So you can get an app on your phone for Carvana and CarMax and Car Gurus and Vroom and the online sites. And these are very similar to their online sites if you go on a regular PC or your laptop. So if you're more in tune with being on your phone and looking up the car that you want on your phone, most of these heavy hitters, as far as the online car sales sites, have a mobile app. So keep that in mind too, folks. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we're wrapping that one up. So we go back to our consumer affairs website, and then we're down to TrueCar. TrueCar is another one that is an online buying site, and they have a app that you can get for your phone. And they have a 4-star rating as well, just like Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They do offer a no haggle price, free service, straightforward pricing. TrueCar app is available. We talked about that. But the problem with TrueCar is they work with partnering dealerships. So you're not really getting the full online process. So you still have to look for the car you want, but then go to that dealership. So it's kind of like Auto Trader. So what TrueCar does is they send this, we used to, in the dealership, the sales guys used to call them ups. So they send this up off the website to this dealership that they partner with, which it happens to be close to where you live. And then you go in there and things are already kind of set up, but you still kind of have to go through their processes and stuff. So there's still, going to the dealership still has to happen if you're using TrueCar. And then there's Car Gurus. Let's talk about them for a second. They have almost a 4-star rating. They come in at 3.8. And let's see what some of the pros and cons are of this one. Car Gurus, it's another one that kind of advertises on the TV. Don't really know too much about them. The Consumer Affairs website really doesn't say a whole lot. So it's up to you. We've gone through quite a few of the top heavy hitters. So I think at this point, we've covered just about all of them. So again, folks, online buying process, it's not something I want to do, but if you're dead set on not going to the dealership, and one of the reasons you don't want to go to the dealership is because of a poor experience you had before, I would encourage you to, maybe revisit that. And like I was saying earlier in the podcast, I would recommend that you do the research on the vehicle that you've got, look at it at different websites to see what the pricing differences are. Seek out the value of that vehicle through your local bank. You go to your local bank. You're going to go to your local bank to get a approval or a pre-approval for a loan, correct? The bank that you already deal with, and you've got possibly your home mortgage with, or a home HELOC loan through your local bank. You can go in there and talk to this loan advisor that you may already have a relationship with, and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy this used car, and I've got the VIN number, or I've got the details on what kind of car it is and the trim levels of that car. Can you give me sort of an average price or a price that you think is good for it?" And that's something that a bank's going to do. Obviously they're not going to loan you the money on a vehicle that they don't think, you're trying to buy a car that they think is being sold for more than what they're going to give you for the loan. So you want to make sure you've got that duck in your row figured out. And also, you've built this relationship with the bank that will give you an idea from your bank what that vehicle's worth. So it's another tool in your toolbox that you can use when you go to the dealership. And it's just like, I don't want to be negative about the online car buying process, but I just feel like the majority of the time, you're not in control of what's going on. all of these sites say they give you the best price. It's no haggle. You don't have to worry about it. Well, you don't want to use the term sucker or, knucklehead when it comes to buying a car. You don't want to be a knucklehead or a sucker. You want to know if this price is even actually good. So if it is good, then are you willing to take the chance on something not being right when it shows up, or immediately it needs to go in for service within within the first 30 days of ownership? Because once you get past those 7 days, it's yours, dude. I hate to say it, but again, that's the other thing. These places are not really keen on unwinding deals and taking the car back, because you've already got paperwork and bank stuff involved, and you're already paying on this loan. So now they've got to reimburse you the money and pay your loan off, right? So it's not just as simple as going, again, just throwing your hands up and bringing the car back. So again, if you're dead set on this online buying process, I encourage you to go through a lot of these apps, download it to your phone, go through and figure it out. Make sure you're prepared. You can also still go get a figure out how much the vehicle's worth through your local bank. At least do that, because you don't want to be paying extra for it just because it's on their website and so forth, when you can pay for it locally and help out a person that maybe lives, in your town locally, and, their kids go to the same school as your kids. And, there's other things that are involved with, taking the dealerships out of the scenario. And I don't know that there's a whole lot of people that are buying these cars online, but all the research and so forth that I did, and any of the people that I talked to, it's not something they would really do. And, again, but if it is something that you feel like you want to do, again, do your research, make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row. And if it is something that you want to move forward with, again, I just make sure you know how much the vehicle's worth so that you can move forward, and then make sure that you get your paperwork in a timely manner. You do not want to be driving this vehicle with expired license plate tabs and worrying about whether you're going to get pulled over because you haven't got your paperwork, because the company that you were dealing with was online. There's nobody you can go in and talk to and rattle their cage and find out when your license plate is coming. So there's a lot of things too, and you want to do your research as far as what this company's reputation is across the nation, because there's a couple of them out there that we've talked about in the podcast that they're not doing a lot of customers very good. And, and it's two of the big ones that kind of advertise on a daily basis on TV and so forth. So that's the one that you probably think of immediately off the top of your head. And we kind of were picking on them at the beginning, but again, folks, it's just like buying a used car through the dealership. Just make sure you got all your ducks in a row and you're educated on all that stuff before you go in there. So that's going to do it for our show today. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I do have a lot of things coming up in the future. The next episode coming up is going to be part 3 of vehicle restoration. I'm going to invite my brother Jeff back to the show, and also his friend Paul Jagelski, and we're going to talk about where we're at in all of our projects, and it's going to be a fun show. So hopefully you guys can tune in and take a listen to that. Thanks for listening to All Automotive. I'm your host, Matt Clausen. Until next time, keep the greasy side down.